faster and in a more complex way in the future. So what is to be done? First, competition with traditional, or rather with new marketing using digital tools. So where is the borderline between PR and marketing, taking into account the fact that the cost of contacting target audience is smaller? The second ingredient is gauging the results. What are the KPIs? How can we digitalize and show them? How can we show that our work is more efficient than direct marketing tools? How to evaluate the added value which is produced by PR specialists, the image, the spirit, the soul. And I'm sure that the event which is carried out by our association together with one of the world leaders, with iMARS, is going to be done in style, will have great image, and it will resonate greatly. Good luck, everybody. Respected colleagues, thank you. I would like to remind you that we're using Zoom. We are doing it in 2 languages, in Russian and in English. Our general partner is the American Association of PRSA. Informational partner is sostav.ru in Russia, and international informational partner is Cision Platform. And now I would like to introduce our respected experts, our guests. Right, dear colleagues. Hello, everybody. And to greet each other, and to, I will ask you, when I'm gonna call your name, please raise your real hand to greet everybody when I shout out your name. Okay, let's go. We'll start with, today with us in the studio, Joe Marchalewski, the president of AIJ Communications, the president of PRSA LA branch. Joe? Thank you for waking up so early to take part in our event. Then over to Brazil, Ciro Dias dos Reis, the founder of Imagem Corporativa, the president of PROI Worldwide. Hello, Ciro. The next guest, Canada, Daniel Tish, the president of Ergal Public Relations. I'm not sure whether Daniel has already joined us, but he'll sure to join in a little while. The UK, Matt de Leon. Hello, Matt. Welcome. The managing director of Richmond and Towers. Germany, Guntram Kaiser, the founder and the general director of Kaiser Communications. Welcome, Guntram. Italy, Maurizio Maione, the head for international development of SEC Newgate. France, Edouard Filias, co-founder and general director of Gen Agency. China, Richard Tang, the chairman of Strategic Public Relations Group. Hello, Richard. India, Achal Paul, the founder and director of Buzz Communications Agency. And Russia is represented by 2 speakers, Mikhail Maslov, the general director of Catcher Moscow. Welcome, Misha. And Andrei Barannikov, general director of SPN Communications, who is going to join us in a little while. And now, colleagues, now, just to wake up a little, because some of you have very early morning right now, just like Joe, and some of you actually have late evening already. I'm speaking of Richard from China. I would like to move on to interactive fast survey. Okay, here it is. We will ask you one question to deal with the future of PR in the context of digital transformation, and there will be 3 possible answers. I will ask you, each of you, choose the answer which you feel is the closest to, and please comment on it and give arguments. That should take 1 minute. Let's do that. Here we go. The future of PR is inevitable digital transformation of the majority of its business processes, accompanied by change from tactics level to strategic level. Two, the future of PR is gradual integration into marketing, which has become digital, and so PR will lose its identity as self-sufficient business function. And the third option, the future of PR is in keeping the majority of its current practices, allowing PR specialists to solve the tasks which machines won't be able to manage for quite some time. And now we can remove the slide. Thank you so much. I will like to give the floor to our first speaker, Joel Marchalewski from the US. Choose your option and go ahead with your arguments. 1 minute. Welcome.
Welcome. Good morning, good night, good evening, good afternoon. I think the future of public relations is it will continue to stay distinct and separate from marketing. What we're able to create in terms of content, how we're able to operate in the world is very distinct from marketing. Marketing and analysis is a much different creature, and I believe PR will continue to stay its own far more artistic. Yeah, I'm hearing just, I apologize, I'm hearing a little bit of reverb, so I hope I'm communicating well enough. But I believe we will stay distinct and separate from marketing for a very long time, and something that machines will never be able to copy accurately.
Okay, the position is understood. I'd like to give the floor over to Maurizio Maione from Italy. Maurizio, you had a minute to think it over. What is your opinion?
Well, I would say option one, basically. So we will be partially transforming the digital world to address complexity. And as Joe said, complexity is too much just to live for the digitalization. I also believe there will be some mixing with marketing there will be. So branding experience will create opportunity to put some, encapsulate some corporate values in the market. But I say mostly one with some two small options. And that's it.
And now, Ciro, I think I know what you are going to say. Nevertheless, please let our audience know what you think. Your option.
Okay, first of all, nice to be here and sharing ideas with people from all over the world. I think there's no specific answer for that. Because it's a mix of everything. Digitalization is a trend, of course, is a tendency, but the human touch, the capacity to understand the way to use technology, digitalization in PR processes, it will be, in summary, it will be a mix of the touch, human touch and technology, new digitalization processes. So there's no a final answer for that. And I think that in the next future, we will be dealing with those complexities. Remember just one example, 2 or 3 years ago, a big global technology company, they launched a chatbot to interact with youngsters. And all of a sudden, they noticed that that chatbot was not interacting in the best way with people. The chatbot was not able to respond to sensitive issues like racist topics and other sensitive issues. So it's a learning curve for us.
Hello, I didn't hear the introduction, but I saw my picture appear.
and separate profession, because we should never forget what is the core function of PR, that is to maintain, to establish, to strengthen relationship, understanding, support from our various stakeholders, and this will remain. Of course, the transformation into the digitalization is an inevitable process, but it is for us an instrument. So therefore, I don't see that there will be a merging of digital marketing and PR. This will be different processes. Although there will be a more integrated process, a more sophisticated process of the different fields. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, I would like to remind you, you have 1 minute. Make sure we're all on time, doing great so far. And Richard Zhang from China, please.
Okay, thank you. I will say it this way. I believe digital or social marketing will be part of PR. It's more like a medium for us to be more effectively and precisely to reaching our stakeholders. So if we preserve PR's core values, for example, like reputation management, positioning, or storytelling, creating key messages, probably this is the core value of brands and corporations that need it. Probably we still remember, like 10 years ago, we are quite worried about like digital or social marketing will take over or replace traditional PR. But you can see that now all PR practitioners, we mastered the skills of for designing and implementing good digital marketing or social media campaigns. So I would say when the infrastructure is more available for the PR industry, it become even more valuable for us, that become a profitable platform for PR activities. And we should invest in proprietary platforms to organize PR events on this medium, like what we have done in the past, like for physical events like conferences, roadshows, exhibitions, etc., etc. So that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. I understand the answer. Dear Mr. Paul, Achal Paul, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm of the belief that future of PR has already got a nomenclature that is phygital, 50% physical, 50% digital. Whether we like or not, we have already landed ourselves in a digitally first environment. We wake up in the morning, look at our phone, and our journey begins in the digital world. right from having meetings to Zoom meetings to presentations online and whatnot. So nothing will be at the cost of the other. It won't be digital at the cost of the traditional PR, which we have been doing for so many years. And similarly, it will be a judicious mix. And there won't be any ideal solution for all. We have to understand the client's situation, environment, and accordingly, offer our strategic solutions to achieve the desired objectives. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much, Achal. I'm giving the floor over to Eduard Filias, the founder of Gin Agency. It's in the DNA of this agency to use technology. Eduard, what would you like to say on this issue?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me today. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Look, I'd like to say simple things because a lot have been said already. So PR is new in the world. I mean, it's 1 century old. It started with at the end of the 19th century, and it will continue to reinvent itself. Our mission is to shift the narrative for our client, and I think it's also to build trust and positive impact nowadays more than ever. So, I mean, that will continue for sure. So I'm more on answer 1. But I also have to say, on answer 3, sorry, but I also have to say that nature of power and influence is changing tremendously in society. Social media is becoming the backbone of every public opinion, of every public debate. So I believe we have to take a huge shift to include digital marketing, to include digital technology and social media at the core of what we do.
Right. Thank you, Eduard. Now, 2 more guests. I haven't spoken to them yet. I'd like to give the floor over to Mikhail Maslov. Misha, what would you like to say on this issue? I'm sorry, my system kicked me out. I didn't really hear everyone, but what I heard, a lot has been said. I believe that if we're talking about whether we stay analogous or whether we go digital, I think there is no option here. PR surely will migrate towards digital tools. We see that, we witness it. It is happening maybe not as fast or in good quality the way we want it to be, but we cannot be impartial to keep processes that customers deal with and clients deal with. The answer is simple. Without doubt, PR will be following digitalization, using more and more digital tools. And what my colleagues have been talking about, yes, PR is, it's a transitional point, it's a shifting point. So much is changing in our profession. We're rethinking what we're doing, and without this element, we take the risks to lag behind. We have to make sure we follow in the wake. We have to make sure we still maintain our distance from representatives of other fields. Thank you, Mikhail. It is clear. There is no definite answer. These are interdisciplinary issues. Daniel Tish from Canada, you are the last one to answer here, and the floor is over to you, Daniel.
Hello, it's good to see everybody this morning. So yeah, I think like other speakers, I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit and suggest that there are probably elements of truth in all 3, with one big exception. I'll get to that in a moment. I think will digitization become key to the future of public relations? Of course it will. It already is. Where I see things moving in a very exciting way is if our core mandate is to communicate values on behalf of organizations and deliver value for organizations, we have an incredible opportunity to go from targeting vast audiences, as we used to do by earning attention in the media and still do, but to doing it digitally by forging shared belief with anybody whom we want to make a decision, to invest in our company, to buy our products, to work for us, whatever the decision we want people to make. Digital gives us an opportunity to forge that shared belief and influence their action and their advocacy at scale on a one-to-one basis. And so that's how we're going to be using digital more and more. You know, in terms of the question about marketing, I think that it's very important to understand that marketing, the purpose of marketing has been and always will be about one audience more than any other, and that's the customer, right? Public relations is, I believe, becoming a higher level function that looks at the entire embrace of the organization and looks at all of its audiences, all of its stakeholders. And so while public relations, no doubt, is becoming and will become more integrated with marketing, it can't be owned by marketing because the whole purpose of the discipline is very, very different. And so if we're to communicate and build the reputations that we seek, not just attachment to our products and services, we need to be very focused on all audiences, and that I think is the present and the future of PR. In some ways, it's coming back to our roots. It's not about content; it's about relationships.
Отлично. Большое
Right.
спасибо.
Thank you very much. So the fast survey is over. What I would like to say as summary, it's clear that we have to talk about this issue. It's very relevant. And now, speakers, please maintain the timing, the way we agreed on it. So I keep talking now. I'd like to give the floor to Oleg. Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching us on YouTube, for commenting the quality of the transmission. Sorry, we have a huge team working, but again, there is no guarantee, there are no technicalities. We're trying to resolve the issues on the go. Another thing, we have changed the script a little bit. We thought that my report, which was devoted to certain digital practices of major Russian companies such as Yandex, Mail.ru, Mail Group, MTS, X5 Retail Group, Gazprom Neft, and some other players, we thought we were going to have it at the beginning, but as we have so many cases that we want to talk about, it's better to maybe go ahead with my report after everybody else. So those of you who are waiting for how voice assistants are used in neural networks for PR in Russia, how it all works. So news from the world of online sociology and integration with marketing apps and initiatives, please bear with us and we'll get back to that at the very end. And I hope we're not going to disappoint you in this respect. Oleg, thank you so much.
Okay, colleagues, going into the main block of our first panel, let me remind you that we've got 10 speakers from 11 speakers from 10 countries across the world. Each speaker get exactly 5 minutes to share their thoughts, ideas, to show us a brief video or a short presentation. I would like to start our colleague from Italy, Maurito, to open the first panel. Oleg, I know that you wanted to ask Maurito a question. Maurito, yes, hi. I hope that addressed all of the technical hiccups. So we're very impressed by the case that you showed us, the case on the research using artificial intelligence of the reputation of Italian railways in real-time mode and the conclusions that you got. Could you talk us through this case and the challenges that you think that we are going to be facing in the near future as digital technologies expand and become more and more effective to address our utilitarian challenges?
Oh, yes, thank you, Alex, and thank you all for being here. Yes, indeed, as we all said in the very introductory part, we feel the digital is inevitable to some extent. It will not be changed dramatically how we feel and how we understand our business. But from my personal point of view, I think digitalization of our profession will be mostly need some new set of tools. I think we will need to create our own tools for the reasons that we'll then explain shortly after. As you said, we invested in our own technologies. We have launched recently in July a platform that is called True, that is intended to run an unprecedentedly thoroughly reputational assessment that covers actually all available digital contents. You can elaborate 30,000 entry a day per brand, per client. And it works actually on semantic rules, and it provides two different elements of what we understand is made reputation, that is the judgments, so impressions and emotions. So the facts and the emotions match together to work what actually a reputation might looks like, sounds like, be tested every moment. So the system we have been working on is actually providing instant by instant two different synthetic index, one covering the cognitive side and the other one the emotional side, all at the same time based on all the available sources. As you said, one of our clients, one of the national rail operator, decided to use this platform for the sake of their own business. And in fact, what they wanted to do is to use True not only to assess their communication effectiveness, but to see how service lines and communication could be impacting their reputation, and on the other way around, how reputation could be used to manage the service. They can check instantly the impact of the reputation and the sentiment of people, of users or stakeholders, according on different sites of elements they have, adding to the platform, so that if actually we have been using over 6,000 semantic rules that allows the platform to give them every moment kind of information like that. So mixing one single element, for example, one specific line, or mixing a couple of elements, specific line with specific stakeholder or specific media or a specific subject, so that they can actually be assessing every moment what is something like that. So a continuous flow of evaluation of the reputation. Reputation is, something that is built over the long term. Impressions are instant by instant. The reputation is going, backwards and forwards every time. So it gives you this kind of, of final background. And I think really from the enthusiastic response we had from the market, that the real golden age of PR in the future will be the ability of manage big data, understanding and elaborating them to provide thorough scenarios and, addressing difficult questions and providing witty replies to those questions. That's, I think, what is my understanding for the future of our business. To do that, we invested some €1.5 million over 2 years, mostly in shaping the system and the semantic context that should be allowed the platform to work and then to go to the market. The platform works in 5 languages already, and so there are almost famous, but the most diffused languages in Europe, and will be implemented language by language over the next time. Definitely, we got one problem here, and again, it's a problem of mankind, of human mankind, and it is how we do make sure the platform is working properly and gives the right response. And I think this gave us a wonderful reply on how much we should keep human-centric our business. Definitely, we will lot to do with that. And I see in my business goes, for example, we have the ability to find new solutions and new options to very difficult questions. So we always need visions to understand how to address the problem that communication is asking and companies are asking us every day. And secondly, the human is still important because at the end of the day, we will be having new profiles in, let's say, next 5 to 10 years of PR professionals. They do not exist today. So we will be, again, be very human-centered to find those new professionals. We launched last year a new division that's going to accelerate, that is very new one and mix together engineers, branding experts, digital geeks, and old corporate reputation professionals, just to deploy all the potential digital work to, to scale the branding experience to another level. Looking at that kind of teams, I can imagine the future of PR, how could we look like in, let's say, 10 years. And that's for me, all from your side. Thanks a lot.
Отлично. Я думаю, нас теперь слышно. Маурицио, огромное
Maurizio, thank you so much for keeping within the timing. It's a very interesting presentation. It's very bright and interesting, and we'll come back to you later. Now, I would like to go on to passing the floor and asking the question to Gunther Kaiser from Germany. Guntram, let's talk about central intelligence as a function. Central intelligence, if we would translate this into Russian, I would formulate it as follows. It's the central meaning management, the central pulpit. Let's think about it. Who is the PR specialist of the future? Let's think about how many of us are going to stay in the profession, which aspect technologies are going to assist us in, which functions they assist us in already. I know that you have some interesting thoughts on the topic where artificial intelligence can fully replace us, where it can't, both in PR and marketing. The floor is yours and you have 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. I've prepared a few slides, as Jelena already said. So the PR manager of the future will have a very multifunctional function. He will be the sparring partner for the top management. He will be the designer of corporate reputation. He will be content developers, sense makers. We will be crisis managers. But we will also be, and here's the answer to what Jelena said, the central intelligence function, because if we want to be forward thinkers, which we are actually supposed to do, we need to have good, reliable data. Maurizio was also already mentioning the big data that should be analyzed by us. We should be the central point of assessing all the knowledge, the information, the data that we have in order to translate it into forward thinking, which I think is one of the main functions for PR managers in an organization. Digitalization, we already talked in the Blitz survey. I personally think that we should make sure, especially as medium-sized PR agencies, we should make sure that we do not lose out again a very important process, which is digitalization. And we all know in what formats it is appearing. And I remember very well the appearance of social media, and many of us overslept this trend with the result that young, dynamic, very motivated agencies appeared as newcomers in the market and took over. and we lost the business, and we will never be able to catch up. This should not happen again. This, however, also requires that we educate technical people. Marisa was mentioning profiles of new professionals. Yes, but I'm a bit afraid that these will not be coming from universities or colleges of applied scientists. I'm afraid we have to educate these people ourselves to a big extent. One tool which I may introduce here is for crisis communication. So that is actually a crisis management app that has been developed in Germany, not by my company, but in Germany, and it is helping. It's completely online. It's an academy for crisis communication, and it comprises a lot of aspects and tools that are important for managing crisis. So like creating a digital crisis guideline, support 24 hours, 7 days on a crisis hotline, creation and administration of a dark site, in-app monitoring with bus reports, and so on and so forth. So that is, we have been doing training for crisis communication and crisis management for many years, but that is now a new stage, which brings us to the digitalization of what we have been doing in presence format before. Now let me say a few words about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, for me, it is a tool. It is there to some extent, and to a growing extent. We are using it in the PR business. So like for monitoring, media monitoring, for issue management, we use it for consumer behavior analysis. We have chatbots, we have all this. But again, it is a tool and will not be able to, as sophisticated it may be and become, it is not able to replace us as a human being, as PR managers, so to say, because we are supposed to develop the strategies. We are able to counsel clients based on our experience and on our knowledge. We are able to communicate sensitive topics. I was just explaining a crisis situation, because and artificial intelligence will never be able to create or handle emotions. That is, for me, a very strong argument. But this is actually something creating, developing emotional campaigns. That is one of the success factor of our profession in the future, because by that we can separate ourselves from other campaigns and attract the attention of the people we want to outreach to. Thank you. That was my presentation. Thank you very much.
Отлично.
Great, Guntram. Thank you so much for your presentation. If we have a bit of time at the end, I would like to come back to this question about why artificial intelligence cannot be used in areas where emotions prevail, because marketing is also about emotion, but let's not do it now, just to keep to the timing. We have a third speaker, Eduard Filias, and I would like Oleg to take the lead here. Oleg, hello, Eduard.
Hello.
Dear colleagues. I would like to ask Eduard to talk a little bit about his agency's digital experience. This agency came about in the digital era, and it has digital in their DNA. We really want to have a look at a number of examples of their developments, their solutions that are striking enough to impress not just the Russian audience, but colleagues from other countries as well. Eduard, could you tell us about the media training technology in VR and about your analytical platform called Jervis and its potential and scaling possibilities?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. So I started my career 15 years ago, and working mostly on online reputation management. And then we enlarged the business of Gene. That's now an agency of 80 staff member across Berlin, London, and Paris. We enlarged the business to more traditional PR work like media relation, corporate content. So I'm natively digital. I started in that business through social media, created with my partners accounts for some of the biggest French company, and we are now pleased to work for I mean big and huge and recognized German businesses, British businesses, and international ones. So, for instance, we are proud to work with Europcar across Europe, with Bouygues, UBS, or Dräger. That's a Mittelstand, a very well-known German business. So, look, to respond to your question, I mean, we believe tech is at the core of human connection nowadays. And if we want to build trust, we have to be able to leverage that C2C connection. How do I make people talk to other people in a nice and positive and trustworthy way about my client? So of course, social media is at the core of that effort, but we also believe that it's important to bring other technology to the table. So I'd like to start by giving you an example of a technology we developed with, hold on, with our CTO, Romain Boudret, who is one of Gene co-founder. And so the name of that technology, it's Pitchboy. So it's basically a VR training tool. So you have a VR helmet. You can also do it in front of your screen or on the phone, and you have a conversation with the software. So you say something, and the virtual person in front of you respond. So the whole point of that tool is helping our client to train themselves to have smart conversations with journalists, with their client. So it's something we do for crisis management, media training, and we also provide it for training people in retail, training salesperson, which is an application of the Pitchboy. I will show you, for instance, what we have done for LVMH to train people in retail. So that's the example of this video here.
Hello, welcome to our store. How can I help you?
Hello. I need to find a gift for my daughter to bring back home.
Okay, how old is she?
It's her birthday in 2 days. She's turning 16.
All right, and do you already have something in mind?
I'm not an expert, but could you advise me?
All right, and then it goes on, and then the salesperson tries to answer the client and convince her to buy a gift for her daughter. So it's natural language recognition, and the point of the Pitchboy is to have the most immersive conversational experience that you can think about with a potential client, customer, journalist, whatever. So this is something we designed for helping our client to train themselves as realistically as possible. And we are now trying to improve the artificial intelligence behind the Pitchboy to actually make it even more realistic. So we raised €1 million to grow this product, It's a spin-off of Gene now, and we have been working on this for 2 years. We have 6 as a client: the French military, Christian Dior, and LVMH. 25 clients, and we are about to raise. So that's something that we'll do during Q1 in between 4 up to 5 million euro to continue this development. So another example of technology that we developed in-house and that we have been using since the very beginning of the agency 8 years ago is Jervis. So Jervis is a digital platform, a little bit of the kind of platform that you talked about. It's analyzing data on online news, social media conversation, key influencers, and the point of the Jervis platform that you can use actually online and on your phone as an app is to inform you of what's important to know and to read right now. So as PR professional, we know that press review is something that people don't do anymore. Who at the breakfast reads the paper and takes 1 or 2 hours to read the news? I mean, very few people. The truth is that all along the day, we read an article, we read a post on our favorite social media wall, we receive a call from someone telling us, you should have a look at this. So we inform ourselves all along the day. So Jervis is some sort of a smart agent that would actually understand your reading habits, the key topic that interests you, your key focus of interest, and that would provide you with this information on the course of your day. So you can find it in the app, because Jervis is a smartphone app, basically. This is how our clients use it. And it's also a desktop application with more detailed data about what's happening in real time. So to do that, we had to actually grow a team of 10 that developed a huge Amazon infrastructure to actually manage the data. We subscribe to Twitter GNIP subsidiary to have the access to the full Twitter firehose, and we have a subscription to LexisNexis News for reaching hundreds of thousands of news online all across the world. So we have 110 clients at Gene, and I believe that 80% of them actually are also client to the Jervis platform. So it's a tool that's absolutely required in our everyday business life. So look, yes, and to give a conclusive word to that presentation, I'd like to say that I love technology and I love VR, and I think bringing that experience to our clients is extremely important. But I also believe shifting the narrative, building trust, creating great human connections. Everyone is lost today. The world has changed. Some of you say that. We have no solid reference anymore. So what matters in that new disorder is actually human connection, taking the information, taking trust from each other. And I think today relationships are gold. And the good news is that we are providing that gold to our client. So more than ever, I believe in PR for doing such a thing in this sophisticated, chaotic world. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Edward. We knew that you would be able to surprise us, and it's a very interesting presentation. Thank you so much. An important point that you made, that this instrument is an enablable part of your daily work as a PR manager, as a PR professional, and that's really great. And I think now it's time to pass on to my dialogue with Mikhail Maslev. Mikhail, we saw some examples of some advanced solutions that our colleagues use in the West. Just a second. We even, in some examples, knew how much it costs. For example, the development of our colleagues in Italy was 1.5 million euro, if I didn't mishear.
Yes, was that plus or without counting the staff cost we engage in that? There will be 2 people full time for 2 years.
Отлично, отлично, Maurizio, спасибо.
Thank you, Maurizio. Mikhail, this is what we talked about. You are a head of the Russian agency, which is part of the international network. You're an international agency, in fact, and you serve as Google, one of the most technologically advanced companies in the world. I know you have more advanced technological clients in your customer list. Tell us, please, are you a digital evangelist now? If yes, why? If no, why? And let's talk about the Russian reality in this respect.
Here we go. I have the sound. Hello, everybody. I'm already a techno evangelist for quite some time. I've been working with telecommunications companies, and I have to be preaching. Right. Another thing is that at the same time, I'm a pessimist of sorts. What we're talking about at this conference, COVID-19 has digitalized everything except PR, yes or no? If we try to answer this question directly, the answer is yes, it has digitalized everything except for PR. But then I'd like to clarify what I mean. The thing is that these great stories which we heard about today from colleagues, from Maurizio, from Guntram and Eduard, great things, great stories. And a lot of us have been doing these things for quite some time, for a long time. 2-3 years ago, we had great technological projects. VR it was not invented yesterday. AI, again, quite some time ago. Let's look at what's happening this year, what we see now. Russia, in many fields, technological fields, is more advanced than its international partners or colleagues, other countries. If we look at, for instance, at two very applied tools, paying tools and parking in Russia, Russia is ahead of the entire planet as far as paying instruments and parking. Russia is European leader in hands-free paying, when we just slide our phones, watches to a machine, and we get some money taken off our account. In Europe, in the US, this technology is not yet widely represented. In Moscow, in many other Russian cities, it's very easy to pay for parking using apps in our phones and prolong and maybe leave earlier and get the money back. We take it for granted. Banking apps, Russian banking apps, are several levels ahead of what we see in European or international banks. From the point of view of PR digitalization, Russia is lagging behind. I'd like to repeat, we have great projects this year. We're gonna have them in future, but now these are only single stories. These are smart thingies, so to speak, but not en masse. The problem is that it's a simple one. It's a simple problem. The number given by Oleg and by Mauricio for the finance for most Russian clients, this is unacceptable, impossible to invest that much. And so we keep talking about the innovations at conferences in Russia on the international level, but the innovations do not delve into our everyday work yet. Without big data, without good quality analytics, digitalization, and the new tools, state-of-the-art truth will not get into PR practices, but those who do research in PR in Russia, they know that so many companies are satisfied by calculating the equivalent in advertising. They're not ready to invest in purchasing serious tools, but the tools are quite expensive. If we look at the set of tools in analytics and monitoring, which is available to my American or British colleagues, let's take top 5, 10 tools. And Cision, which is our partner today, it's one of those tools. A lot of them are not available simply because they work inefficiently with Cyrillics. They cannot trace Russian social networks, but others are not relevant just because for them you have to pay. And we're talking about thousands and 10,000s of dollars per year. And Russian clients find it easier, many of them find it easier to employ some, manual human labor who try to carry out similar activities. Yes, it's right. As of today, I believe that we are not headed there quickly. We do not implement tools in the fast way. Digital tools, we do not digitalize our everyday work. We wanted to go faster. And what I heard, well, what I said at the beginning of the event today, when I said that we are risking to lag behind, we're risking to lose the field of play to our partners in the marketing mix. We can lose to consulting companies and marketing companies. We have to speed up, but to do that, we need client support, we need demand, we need their interest and their finance to do that. If we invest by ourselves, but major agencies do invest in analytical and digital tools, without demand and client support, it's very difficult to do that. Lena, Oleg, over to you. Yes, Mikhail, thank you so much. Thank you. What a great presentation. Really reflects what we have here in Russia, what agencies deal with. We would like to talk more if there is time in the end. Our partners in marketing mix. This is me quoting to you, and I'd like to give the floor our Eastern partners in marketing mix. I'm talking to Richard Sang from China, because we are moving to the mostly technologically advanced market of the world. Richard, I have a big lead to what you're gonna say. We have very advanced audience, but I'd like to point out two topics and clarify what's happening in China. And I'd like you to focus on examples. In Russia, we carefully follow the Chinese experience of creating super apps. We create them too here in Russia, but you're far ahead in this. Tell us, using one of your clients as an example, how WeChat works and how it brings together online and offline. That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question, let's look at PR in the modern China through the prism of live commerce system. Well, you have implemented a long time ago. The peculiar feature of China is that influencers during those live streams, they not only advertise products, but they basically sell products. You only have to click one button to do that. Richard, the question is, we have the feeling that through you jumped through PR, moved on straight to sales and marketing. Where does PR, classic PR, fit in China with classic targets of PR, forming reputation and trust? Anti-crisis communication, how does that take place? WeChat as a super app, on the example of your clients, and where is the spot for PR in live commerce? Thank you for listening, and it's over to you now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will be sharing one kind campaigns, but I would say that's a good example of combining both social or digital platform, online, offline together to achieve good results. So SPRG, we designed and launched a 24-month communication campaign for Chavia, the EU Commission's Department of Consumers, Health, Agriculture and Food Executive Agency in starting 2019. The title of the campaign is Colors by Europe. The objective of the campaign is to raise awareness and purchase intent regarding EU food and beverage by promoting the safety, quality, and authenticity of EU's agricultural products. So category of the EU food focus in this program includes like wine, spirits, meats, dairy, olive oil, cereals, pastas, fruits, vegetables, and many others. We developed a holistic communication strategy that put WeChat, you just mentioned this name, WeChat, at the center of the Chavia consumers outreach. But we also couple with like print media, KOL, and other online platforms like Weibo, Douyin in the West, they call it TikTok, activities all focused around driving traffic to the WeChat account. So in the WeChat platform, we can develop like games, mini programs. So on the WeChat platform, we call them the hi-fi games, and design lively content centered around videos, including like monthly shooting of EU F&B videos with chefs as well as experts like wine and spirits experts. So about the KOLs, I don't know whether you know the situation in China. We have some KOL or KOC because sometimes audiences they like to see or watch people who they think, okay, we can be one of them, but it's very interesting seeing how these people sharing the experience in different products. So those are, we call them KOCs. So we engage them. Some of these KOL and KOC, if you want to engage them, it's not cheap. In fact, they're quite expensive because many of them, they have followers like millions. It's quite easy to have like 1 million, 2 million followers. In fact, some of the very famous KOLs in online or WeChat KOLs, live streamers in China, they may have over like 60 million, 80 million people, but it's not, they are not celebrities or superstars. It's ordinary people, but they have that kind of followers. And probably you may also heard about a day in China, November 11, called the Single Day. And then for many of these KOL or KOC, if they live stream their experience on certain products and all that, they can move sales like 100 million US dollar easily in 24 hours. So you can imagine if you want to open a shop or open a retail outlet and then you achieve like 100 million US dollar in a day, probably you need many shops. But one KOL in China can achieve that. So people just click on button and then buy the products. So that's how you can engage these people. Food, lifestyle, maybe technology, gadgets, and all those products. So we try to engage these people. Before COVID-19, we also have done one event online. So we invited a few F&B KOLs to do live streaming for the promotion event with Hema. Hema is a supermarket chain in China. So for that one event, total views reach over 30-something million. So you can imagine how crazy, how popular these KOL could be. So in the first year, so this campaign achieved over like 40-50 millions of impressions and have exposure of near like 6-7 million with some of the KOC involved in various tasting events, and then the WeChat posts, and then they increase the number of followers with like 500,000 views easily, and the games and all the other different events and in Weibo and Douyin. But I will also want to point out that the merits of these social media platform in China, such as WeChat or many others, it may be different from the online platform in other parts of the world. Because you know in China, when you start having all these when you start following all the different platforms, in fact, your identity can be traced. So that means it's like you're organizing physical event, and then you see that person physically. Of course, you can't engage with like millions of people at the same time, but you can pick some of those you want to further engage or engage deeper. So this kind of scale is not comparable. Physical events or traditional PR event can't be comparable to this kind of online event that you can meet like 10 million people at one time. So this is how we can even have more direct contact of the audiences. And also we can move the online to offline, because if you start having like creating games or lucky draws and all these kind of thing on the WeChat account the brands have, then eventually these participants may need to show up physically. So then you have another opportunity to engage them. But I also want to emphasize that the offline event for this travel campaign is also important, because like in the first year, we generated something like 160 media coverage, but the reach in China is over 120 million. So it shows how important that if we can combine both the online and offline events together, then the achievement could be great. The question you also asked me is whether PR loses place if we already have the KOL, KOC on WeChat accounts and many others, and then they can even sell the product. Like I answered the first question at the very beginning of this forum, if PR, we still keep our core competence for like designing the positioning for a brand, creating key messages, approaching the right target audiences, and selecting the appropriate channels. So I think both online and offline. So in fact, this gives us a lot of opportunity. And also, like I mentioned, the KOL, KOC, the influences, the impact they have. I would say PR, we could even nurture or we can grow our own KOL or KOC. It would be a lot easier than we want to achieve that via traditional PR, because most of the KOL for traditional PR, they are already celebrities. People know them very well. But on the online world, probably you can create a KOL or KOC in a very short period of time, as long as you can make them popular. So then this KOL and KOC will help PR a lot, and in fact, sometimes you even sort of like own them. So that's something PR have a big role or big opportunities in the future. And also in China, although we have been developing social media platform or digital platform for a long time, but you may also understand that rules and regulations change all the time. So if you are not aware of the new changes, it may impact the brands, or even your content have to be taken off or taken down from the platform. So again, then PR, we have that role and the first-hand immediate information on all these changes. So can't leave us, because we are the one who understand most deeply how it's operate, and then we can help them to execute these media programs, social media programs successfully. So I think that's my sharing, and if there will be chances to answer questions, I will be happy to do so later. Thank you very much.
Richard,
thank you so much. You said a very important thing, and we pointed it out with my colleagues. PR is following all the changes. At the end, we will have to maybe talk about it. Let's move on to Matt DeLeon from Great Britain. I'd like you to talk to Matt. Matt, happy to welcome you. Now we talk a lot about using digital solutions to prepare PR specialists to war, so to speak, to combat, which takes place in digital world. Our association, PR association, uses this and teaches professionals and teaches them how to behave in crisis situations, we use business games. But your case, your case study, which uses neural networks to learn and to teach anti-crisis modeling and modeling anti-crisis scenarios, should inspire our colleagues. Please tell us your point of view on using AI in PR on the whole and in teaching communications in particular and our everyday work. What is your take on this?
Thank you, Oleg. And I must say, it's been really interesting sitting listening to all my colleagues from around the world. So it's so interesting. So thank you for sharing. So Oleg, talking about crisis communications first, the case study I'd like to share actually is not from my agency. It's from a crisis agency we have in the UK called Polpeo, and it's run by an associate of mine. And they use AI to simulate and rehearse realistic fictional social media crises. So they would create an immersive role play situation that is designed to train their teams on how to handle the real life experience of managing a business crisis on social media. So they set up a particular scenario that is relevant to the client's business. So for example, it might be a food product that has led to a poisoning situation, or a clothing brand that has been accused of using child labor, for example. And their simulation software mimics the social media channels, microblogs, social networks, video networks, blogs, and forums. And they combine this with human social media community managers that play the role of the general public, responding to everything the team is doing to manage the unfolding crisis. So you have a situation where the crisis begins and the client team starts to respond to social media posts that have been made by community managers pretending to be the general public. The client team responds to this, and as the people pretending to be the public respond, the AI software throws up further learned responses and it amplifies them. So what you have is this great combination of real people responding, AI-led platforms amplifying it, and the client responding to it in real time, making mistakes and learning from the mistakes so that in a real live situation, they will hopefully be fully combat ready, to use the phrase that you used. You asked about the use of AI in PR generally and whether we need to possess it and use it in our daily lives. Do I think we need to use AI? Yes, I do, but it's not as straightforward as that, in my opinion. There are many positives with AI, but they come with caution. And as PRs and communicators, we are the ones that are well placed to advise and implement best practice. So in terms of the positives, there are simple back office uses of AI like media monitoring, research tasks, wire services, analysis, social listening. All of this makes us more efficient, allowing us to focus on tasks that machines can't do, like strategy, like focus, creativity, client relationships, ethics, the nuance of messaging. There's also the creative uses of AI in campaigns to increase engagement, and I'll come on to an example of that shortly. Or of course, AI can be combined with big data for mass communication. But there is a real note of caution. And for me, this note of caution around artificial intelligence is about trust and about authenticity. And this is where we fit in as communicators. So let me explain. 2020 has made us less trusting than ever. COVID-19 and what our governments are telling us about it, the US election and allegations of voter fraud, the release of the docu-film, The Social Dilemma, about the deliberately addictive algorithms of the social networks. In the UK, there's been an increase this year in online fraud and scams, and I'm sure that's happening around the world. We distrust the news, we distrust politicians, we distrust brands, we distrust social media. We are even starting to distrust scientists. We question what's real and what's fake. So in my opinion, because of all that, what we need more now than ever is honesty and authenticity in order to build up trust between brands and customers. So when it comes to digital tools like AI, chatbots, virtual assistants, it's all about transparency. The key question is, does the customer know that AI is being used? Have they given permission? AI and NLG, natural language generation, when combined with virtual assistants, is getting so good, it's going to be hard to tell the difference between humans and machines. We as consumers don't want the wool pulled over our eyes. We don't want brands to pretend humans are answering them when actually it's a machine. And this is especially true if we've got a problem or a question or we want to complain. In the old days, if you had a question or a problem, you might call a telephone or call center. Today, if we've got questions or a problem, we go to Twitter, to Facebook, to live chat, to company websites. And if we're doing this, we want to be taken seriously, to be understood, and to be shown empathy. We need judgment to be used. We need ethics and morals to be implemented. The logical answer isn't always the right one. And we need our responses to incorporate that. So for this, we need humans. And if we don't get this, we begin to lose our love and our trust for the brand and we go elsewhere. So whereas call centers may not be part of the PR remit, community management is. And as PR professionals, we need to be the beacons of honesty and honest and authentic communication, where ethics, morals, empathy are incorporated, so that brands don't lose the love and trust of the customers that they have spent millions of dollars, pounds, rubles, euros, yen trying to build. So in my opinion, we have a very, very big role to play in guiding brands of when and when not to use AI, when the human touch is needed and when it isn't. Our job as PR pros, as communicators, is to ensure that it's used with integrity and with openness, and of course, without harm. So is it impossible for brands to build trust and love with AI? No, it isn't, but it's got to be done with permission. And it's also got to be done to add to the customer experience and not to detract from it. And I've got a really nice example of this that I'd like to share with you. And this is a case study that comes from an English Premier League football club called Bournemouth. And Bournemouth ran a project to increase fan engagement. And the club worked with its partner agency, a UK agency called Greenwood Campbell, and they used AI to analyze the different emotions in people's faces during a football match. So the way it worked was that fans took selfies of themselves on their smartphones during a match, and then they uploaded them to a chatbot on Microsoft's Azure platform when the match was in progress. What they then did was they used Microsoft's Emotion API, the application program interface, which was an AI algorithm to scan the photographs, the photos for emotion. The first thing it did was it scanned for inappropriate content, and there was a lot of that, so they got rid of that. But then what it did is it identified the emotions that fans go through at football matches: anger, contempt, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, surprise. They did all of this, and then a chatbot reacted to the fans' emotions accordingly, and it sent pre-programmed messages and ratings of their emotions, and it sent it back to them. And what you found was that each image uploaded by a fan resulted in the fan sending at least 7 messages to at least 17 other people about it, spreading the fun and sort of spreading the engagement. And for me, I think the great thing about this was that the aim of this project wasn't to sell anything. It was purely to increase engagement with fans and to enhance their match day experience. And it worked. And it worked because it was creative, and it worked because it was done with permission. So just to finish, just in summary, I believe we do need to use AI, and digital tools will make our lives simpler. But the future challenge to brand owners and to communicators like us is knowing when to employ them and being able to be open to customers about their use. We are already very cynical about brands. You only have to look at the AI-driven ads that Facebook and Instagram serve you every minute of every day, and your cynicism increases. So only honesty and authenticity will break through this cynicism. And as communicators, it's in our power to lead the charge on this.
Огромное спасибо, Matt.
Thank you very much, Matt. We enjoyed. It was great. Thank you for telling us about football. We were waiting for it. Thank you so much. I'd like to give the floor to our Brazilian speaker, Oleg.
Ваша точка зрения в том,
If we understood you correctly, your opinion is that PR as an independent discipline no longer exists. And there is no point for it to exist as an independent discipline in the contemporary communication configuration, because you think that it has an impact on the effectiveness of business communication. So let's talk about this. What would a PR expert have to do if this function no longer exists as a standalone value? And what trends in the Brazilian market, we mean in our sector, enabled you to come to this opinion?
So I think I did like the presentation of Matt, because he he mentioned the non-technical, the non-digital aspect as important as the technical, the digitalization efforts, and I think that PR will be challenged more and more in terms of building bridges, in terms of new technologies, digitalization, and new requirements coming from the society. What we are seeing is that because of the COVID, many companies started to look to the society in a different way. I always say to my clients, what you guys, how do you want to be remembered in 3 years from now as a company which did this or that during the pandemic? Have you contributed to help the society, your employees, and your business partners? So I think that we are living in a challenging and very interesting moment as PR professionals, because we have the opportunity to build new bridges, to multiply bridges, to open the dialogue, and to by using new technologies to make companies advance in terms of trust, in terms of brand, in terms of decoding the new requirements from the society, and to offer new solutions, new approaches. What we have seen in the last 1 or 2 years, global challenges like Black Lives Matter and sustainable environmental challenge, those topics were not in the radar screen of many companies in recent years. So now it's impossible to ignore that those topics are very important. All people are paying attention on that. All opinion makers are focusing on that, authorities, NGOs. So I think that the magic here for us as PR professionals is to put all those elements together in order to offer new solutions. I'm used to say that in the past years we had we used to have puzzles with 100 pieces. Now our puzzles have 1,000 pieces. So it's much more complicated. And in my country specifically, we are, Latin people. And Latin people are much more emotional. So my colleague Maurizio in Italy, he knows well what I mean. So we are much more emotional. So PR, communication process, we do need to build those bridges I mentioned before in a more emotional way. So it's not enough to say to build a message according to a well-engineered logic. We do need to build those bridges in an emotional way, and I think that again, this is what make our activity so charming, so challenging, because different cultures require different solutions. And of course, there is the new technologies and digitalization in the middle of everything we do. But in the whole environment, we do need to adapt to different situations. And we have faced many we have done many projects on that, and I think we will be able to mention that later on. But I think that we face now huge opportunities as PR professionals, because our activity will not be 100% digitalized. So our human touch will be always necessary, and our human perception, the capacity to understand emotional needs and how people react in different countries, in different conditions, this will be key. And I think that we are in the top of the list in terms of professionals able to deal with that complexity. We, in a way or another, we are focusing on in CRM, in sociology, in integrating different dimensions of the information, different layers of knowledge. So this is my 2 cents here.
Отлично. Сиро, огромное вам спасибо.
Great, Ciro. Thank you. It was a very interesting presentation, and I did note a few things. And before we go on to the next speaker, the next guest, Andrei Baranikov, I would like to quote Ciro a little bit. Andrei, let's briefly talk to you about new businesses in the digitalized pandemic reality. Ciro said that we all have cultural specifics, cultural codes. Russian agencies, what is their cultural code? We need to meet our customers in order to get good contracts, in order for them to like us, in order to manage their emotions. We have to meet them. And that's always been this way until the pandemic struck. And then something suddenly changed. Something in our lives went differently. For some people, it even started to go better. And let's talk to you about this. What we saw in 2020. So your view as an agency, and let's not forget your personal forecasts. How do you think the situation is going to evolve? Let's look at a 2 to 3 year horizon. And Andrei, thank you. Thank you for making it. Thank you for being with us. Andrei, Yelena, thank you so much for inviting us. It's a great pleasure to be with you, colleagues. I'm currently in the city of Zheleznogorsk, and I am starting a new business. I'm personally meeting a customer, just exactly as you said. We were outside in fresh air. This is the city where one of the leading ore mining companies is located, and I made amazing videos, photos, etc. The organizers I kept commenting about my background. It wasn't good enough, so I tried to do my best on my iPad from the hotel room. So this is as much as I could do for you. I agree with Mikhail Maslov, my friend and colleague. So he said a lot of the things that we are talking about now as a bit of a revelation. They did exist technically 3 years ago, 5 years ago. They were there. We had the Polycom, we have video conferences, and this has been around for the last 10 years. We were able to communicate between various offices in Moscow and St. Petersburg. I think we should focus more not on a technological breakthrough, but a mental breakthrough instead. A lot has changed in our heads. A very interesting story came from my friend who is the head of IKEA in Russia. He told me that before 2019, all of the leaders of the office would come to the headquarters for meetings, and you could have an excuse to skip. And then if you don't come again, they would probably comment on the fact that you should probably skip it. Now, if you come to the headquarters, it would be perceived as a statement. So why do you need to spend money on flying? This is a mental change that happened in under a year. And as you can understand, this is a critical change in our mentality. You asked us how client relations changed, how client services changed this year. If we talk about current clients, I think they broke down into three key categories. The first category said, guys, stop. This is between February and March 2020. We don't know what's going on. We don't understand what's going on. And there's the minority of these. The second category of clients said nothing has changed for us. We've been going to work. We'll continue going to work in the office. And that was before there were some constraints imposed by the states and the lockdown. And the third most numerous group of customers said, let's try a mix. Let's try on the one hand to continue going to the office. And this group was the major group of customers. And our goal as an agency was to adjust as quick as possible and to suggest the communication tools that our customers need. As you know, in all of the countries, all of the communications programs were disrupted, all of the budgets, just because they were in one way or another tied to offline events, the ones that we now call hybrid at the end of the year. And this is a colossal change. I recently met my colleagues from Ross Congress, Alexander Stublev, and I asked him, Alex, what do you think? Are we ever coming back to the way it was? And he said, no. He said, I don't think so. I think these changes are permanent. They're not reversible. The key change is not in the technology, although technologies are definitely important. And the fact that we can talk over video conference, the quality of the sound is so high on the one hand. On the other hand, we understand that this change is happening in our heads. I still have 1 minute left. I'm going to share a story that I was astounded by, and I keep quoting it every single conference I go to. This year, we participated in a lengthy tender organized by one very respected Russian company. We won the tender. We got a good contract as a result, and we haven't once seen those people live, although all in Moscow, based in Moscow. This situation would have been unimaginable a year ago, just absolutely impossible. And it's a great pleasure for me that I was finally back to in-person communication with one of our customers today outside, walking around the Mikhailovsky or processing and beneficiation plants where I'm currently am. But we know that the world is not going back to the old reality, and the retail world has completely been transformed. The PR, whether we like it or not, well, I guess nobody cares. And in this situation, we just need to adjust to the reality that we live in. The more interesting it is for us going forward. And thank you so much for this opportunity to meet so many wonderful friends, Ciro, Misha, Guntram. I'm really happy to see all of you here today, my great friends brought together by this conference. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for this wonderful event. Thank you. Andrei, thank you so much for your story. If you can, please stay with us till the end. We're going to pass on to the third block. We've only got 3 speakers there, so we are going to be coming to the end soon. I noted down some of the points. The world is never going to be the same again. One of the key points that you made. Now, I would like to talk to our Indian colleague, Mr. Paul Achal. I know that you have some stats. I know that you have some numbers, some research. You are very much captivated by how we are going to digitalize our work life as an agency. People working remotely. What's happening in India? What are the forecasts? Are we ever coming back to the offices, or are we not? What do you think? Perhaps that's not even necessary. And within your speech, please briefly mention your amazing case with the virtual roadshow. You know what I'm talking about. You have 5 minutes. Mr. Charlotte, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you. It has been an amazing experience listening to all my learned colleagues from all over the world, and I feel I'm myself very lucky to be part of this amazing event. Before I begin, I would like to go back to the genesis of the word crisis. As John F. Kennedy once put, and my friend Richard would agree, that when it is written in Chinese, it is written in two characters. One represents danger, the other represents opportunity. So I belong to the second one. I see there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and vaccine has become now a reality. UK is in the forefront. Matt would agree with me. The economic recovery has been very fast now. There has been amazing scenarios, what we were in March and what we are today in December. In March, we were down and out. April was terrible. However, God has been kind, and we have not, completely, or what you call, got drowned with all those emergencies for which everybody was caught unaware. So the hardcore reality, as I mentioned in my introductory note, was that it is a digital first environment we all are staying in, living in. And in this kind of scenario, the workplace becomes very important, and work from home is become a hardcore reality. Why? In India, there are companies, especially the tech and the management companies, who have already decided that they would work from home for forever now. They have already decided. How I say that? Because a decision has been taken in this regard, and they have moved on with from their real estate offices. The manufacturing or service industry has come back to work, but at a 50% strength, which brings us to a situation that phygital has become, that is 50% reality, digital and 50% physical, has become a hardcore norm. And Bill Gates recently mentioned in one of the interviews that 50% of the business travel and 30% of days in the office will go away in the pandemic aftermath. And recently in October, Bank of America research also mentioned that corporate travel is unlikely to rebound until late 23-24. Sorry. So we have to understand this aspect of the life. In India, in November, a research was conducted amongst the top executives. And I will just read out. The majority of the companies worldwide taking decision permanently to work from home, Indians seem to have taken some kind of liking towards it. The report captioned COVID-19 and beyond, an evolving perspective, based on a survey, clearly mentioned that 54% love to work from home, of which 34% are willing to take 10% salary cut to work from home indefinitely. This is a direct correlation with the amount of time the individual spent commuting to and fro to the office during pre-COVID time. 81% of the respondents with more than 90 minutes one-way commute to the office would love to work from home permanently, as I mentioned earlier. Going further, 56% of the respondents believe that their productivity levels have increased phenomenally. Now, this is amazing finding. And this, because of the national lockdown in April 2020 in India, they witnessed some notable productivity increase, and more so in the senior level, the CXOs. And 31% claim productivity increase to the tune of 25% or even higher than the pre-COVID time. More than 39% of the CXOs would be willing to take 10% salary cut. See, the best is correlation between this work and scenario and this. And 18% of the juniors have permanently agreed to work from home. Now I come to a case study of one of our clients called a leading university from Australia called La Trobe University. Now, pre-COVID time, we have been associated with them for over a decade. We have been doing roadshows to attract students to take in admissions. This was the first of its kind that we thought we will do virtual roadshow as the way we used to do in pre-COVID times, where the target audience was very clearly defined, that they would remain same irrespective of which approach we take. We planned exactly the same manner. First thing was agents who helped get the students. We conducted in India and SAARC countries was our market. And to keep them engaged and motivated, we organized an online webinar to make them understand the kind of courses which are offered. Thereafter, information sessions were there. Apart from that, leadership sessions were there with the corporates, which helped others to participate, which means the corporates are invited to become partners of the university, and thereafter it helps in placements. Not only that, the last finale, which was the best, was the Vice Chancellor Scholarship. And by conducting this kind of session, it helped in increasing the brand awareness of the university scholarship, and the winners were from India and Colombo, which we announced digitally as well as by the traditional media. And that, helped the university in more ways than one. The organic growth of the intake of students helped in many ways. Net, if I want to just sum it up, that these admissions and recognition to the university came from this case study. I will just borrow Winston Churchill's quote, what he once said: "Never let a good crisis go to waste." I strongly believe that it is our moment and we should do our best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Achal. Churchill wouldn't have imagined which technologies would come to help us in crisis situations. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul, for your amazing presentation. I would like to now pass to our North American guest and talk with Joe. Dear Joe Marchilewski, our new partner. I know that Oleg wanted to talk to you, but I just wanted to say from myself some words of gratitude. We so much wanted for you to not wake up at 5 a.m. So we added you to the third block, thinking that this would be a better time for Joe. He'll be able to wake up properly and then start his workday with you. And you are with us from the very beginning, and you're basically from the very beginning participated in the first Blitz. I just want you to be in a good mood all day today. Oleg, you wanted to ask Joe a question about the good mood. I don't know, my question isn't going to sound too relevant. When we prepared the conference together with you, Joe, you said that during a crisis, PR specialists get laid off a lot in American companies. Does that mean that we as professionals are losing our positions? If marketing are not the ones getting the cut and we are, does that mean that our role is being reduced, or the perception, the understanding of our role by the leadership is diminishing? What is the PR community in the US placing the stake on? And let me remind you that we're talking about digital technologies. If the PR technologies have a digital in their future, please tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you so much for letting me be a part. There's a lot of very intelligent people. I'm intimidated a little bit by how many wonderful speakers and answers there are. So at the end of the day, it's my perspective that PR and communications is more of an art Marketing is more of a science. So I always see, and all the speakers I think would agree with this, technology is vitally important, but it's a tool, a much more tool, in my opinion. You know, we look at AI, artificial intelligence, for example. I have not, in the US at least, and I really liked Matt's example of how it's employed in the UK, but I have not seen it used in traditional PR here in the States. It doesn't have the capability at this point to adjust to another human the way human beings can. You know, just to take the example of media relations, many journalists have needs that are immediate and that change quickly. And that's something AI can't adjust to. I think as was shared earlier, PR people are using AI tools far more than we ever have in the past to help with research, to help with certain parts of work. I know that Cision, one of the sponsors, I think, of the today's event, this morning's event for me, Cision has a number of tools that PR companies use to monitor news, to monitor social media, to measure what's being said in the news, being said in social media about a client, a product, a service, all of which are very important. And with many PR departments facing severe cuts due to the economic challenges related to COVID, those who remain in their positions have relied far more on AI to replace the lost person power. So again, AI is a tool for public relations professionals to do their jobs. You know, what I think, and I want to touch on a couple of areas of tech and then sort of talk about more philosophical issues, and I'll go fast. So ROI, return on investment, it's another instrument that we need to prove our necessity. I think as we're facing these challenges, PR professionals need to embrace something that we don't like to embrace. We need to embrace results, and that's always a hard thing. You know, COVID is slashing PR budgets, and when they're tight, PR has to work harder than marketing to prove its true value, because we live in a place of messaging, which is vitally important. In my country, this entire year has been an extreme challenge when it comes to messaging. As has been mentioned, we're in some political turmoil, and we have been since the beginning of the year, and it's all about messaging. What's interesting to me is at a time when, because of COVID, everyone's home far more, the usage of social media has gone way up. The viewing of media has gone way up. And I think, as Matt, I believe, said, the trust in those institutions has gone way down, which is a really challenging dichotomy for us. But again, to me, that's why it comes down to the personal interaction, the human touch. That's the most important thing. I think always will be. You know, we talk about technology, using technology. An international app that's used far more outside of the States than inside is WhatsApp. I work in the legal space. There was a horrible plane crash some time ago, Lion Air in Indonesia, and we had firms, we were using WhatsApp to disseminate information to people we represented in Indonesia. And, you know, so there's American companies that are using these tools like WhatsApp and other social media platforms. Hellmann's mayonnaise, I don't know if you're familiar with that brand. Hellmann's wanted to reach out to South America. Okay, there, sorry, heard the voice. WhatsApp used, Hellmann's used WhatsApp to reach out to South America to promote their product, to start some interest in countries like Brazil, Chile, and other parts of that region. So it has to be a tool. It always has to be a tool. I think right now, our focus has to be getting back to basics. What separates me, Joe Marchalewski, from a lot of people I work with is I'm always willing to put in the human touch, to go the extra mile, to communicate on a personal level. And right now, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, the companies, the agencies that are willing to, while we're in this current state, put in the human touch, put in the human element, is what's going to separate success from failure. We have to have creativity with our content. Media outlets are doing historic layoffs. In the US right now, negativity is the norm, and this is letting me know that my time is up. We need to focus on content that is positive. Positive content will get a positive reaction. And right now, that's what's cutting through. That's what's cutting through all of the noise of a great deal of negativity all over the place. So thanks so much for letting me speak.
Джо, спасибо огромное.
Joe, thank you so much. Once again, thank you for your participation in a very interesting report. Thank you. Moving on to your neighbors, I'd like to talk to Daniel Tisch, representing Canada. Daniel is the final panelist of the third session of reports. Daniel, when we talked to you earlier, getting ready for the event, you quoted yourself, your recent survey for Canadian PR Association. Yeah, we see you. Daniel, hi. I'd like to ask you to talk about the following. Let's build on this topic. Content is no longer king. Who is king, or what is king now? What is done by content? And if possible, I know that you like talking about the PR and opportunities of PR, and if you can cover all of this in the 5 minutes, if you can talk about the future of PR, but look at it in a slightly different way. We're talking about digitalization of the entire world and the entire marketing. Is that a heavy burden for PR, or quite the opposite? It's a good chance to develop for PR. Okay, over to you. Welcome.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be part of the session today, and particularly pleased to follow such a distinguished list of panelists. You definitely did not save the best for last, but I'll do my best to bring together a few ideas here. So I'm sharing my screen. I hope you see it. So I'll answer your question right away. We've had this phrase many years. That we've heard probably 25 years now. This idea that content is king. And right away, I'll give you my perspective that, obviously, I'm being a little provocative here, because obviously we have the incredible tools that give us a greater ability to produce amazing content than ever before. And PR is getting better and better at this, creating content. But the key concept that I want to convey here is that content can't just exist for its own sake. It's not about creating great content. It's about deploying content in the service of relationships, right? Because, if you think about content as king and that idea, what happens, as Mark Schaefer, has written several years ago in coining this idea of content shock, what happens when there's so much content out there that it exceeds the human capacity to consume it? Does the value of that content go up or down? Well, obviously it goes down. It's a rhetorical question. The other thing is, I really enjoyed Joe's comments about, and the comments of other speakers on the role of artificial intelligence. Let me just show you some numbers here, right? And you judge for yourself whether our industry is rife for disruption. Okay, the largest PR firm in the world has, just under 6,000 employees with revenue per employee of $156,000. Facebook has 52,000 employees, right? 10 times more. And their revenue per employee is $1.3 million, right? So it's very clear that as we see more and more tools, more and more technology, artificial intelligence technology that automates the creation of content, and not just the creation of content, but the deployment of content, and in terms of who's going to see the content, where we're going to invest our resources, more and more that's going to be automated. And so I really want to endorse the comments made by others that as we look at a world today, right, where stakes are high and trust is low, where audiences are more empowered thanks to social media, journalism is diminished because of the challenge to their business model, and there's so much content out there and so little listening, right? A sense that organizations aren't listening to their stakeholders and are focused on outbound communication rather than really listening and adapting and giving stakeholders influence. We have to think about what that creates, right? That creates a scenario where when we make a big decision about our health, our wealth, the products we try or buy, the causes we support, the ideas we believe, where we choose to work, whom we choose to vote for in democratic elections, right? It comes down to a question. And that question is, whom will we trust, right? Now, I've never had a CEO. We've got about 110 staff and 5 offices across Canada, 1 office in the US. And in 40 years of work, that our company has been around, we've never heard of one CEO come to us and say, hey, how's my content performing, right? The CEO's question isn't about content. It's about, are we trusted, right? And trust is earned through relationships. And so to Joe's point, I think he's absolutely right that, about, his comments and I like his initial notion of PR being an art, marketing being a science. Well, PR is going to become more scientific, right? But fundamentally, my argument is that it's not contents are king, it's relationships are royalty. And so you asked me to cover briefly, the future of our business. There are certain things which are widely seen as the core competence of PR, and also things that add significant perceived bottom line impact: crisis communications, major announcements, social media, media relations, right? But increasingly, we have to start thinking about getting involved in other types of activities that we know have value to the organization, right? And contributing to the relationships that drive reputation in those spheres. So the Global Alliance, I'm a past chair of the Global Alliance. We did a few years ago, the Global Alliance did a global study in many different countries and asked senior professionals and academics, what are the emerging capabilities that will be essential for the future of PR? And these were the top 11, right? The ones I've highlighted in gold are about strategy. The ones I highlighted in orange are about analysis, right? And the deriving of insight from that analysis. Only one is about, the technical creation of content. So I think our future, better strategists, better analysts, but probably fewer technicians, right? As more and more of that gets automated. So to close, I think the capabilities we need for success, particularly at this most unusual time in human history, we need to ensure that leaders have not just communications intelligence, but contextual intelligence, that we work with them so that the organization and the leader, that they gain empathy, that they have through planning processes, they have more foresight, the agility to act on what they've learned, a bit of objectivity that we provide, right? Because organizations always fall in love with their own story and they're too close to their issues. And finally, courage, right? There's an old phrase in English, silence is golden. I don't know how that translates into Russian, but I don't believe silence is golden anymore, right? Listening is very important and you're silent when you listen, but ultimately there's more danger today that comes from saying too little than from saying too much. So I thank you for the opportunity to participate today and look forward to the discussion.
Daniel,
we are amazed. Great presentation, great report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was cool. What a pity you didn't have much time. Colleagues, we're almost on schedule. Everything is great, but before we give the floor over to Oleg, who wanted to say something about the Russian experience in deploying digital tools, here is the second Blitz survey. I know that Edouard had to leave us. He had an appointment. He said goodbye to everyone. We have 10 speakers. Colleagues, very briefly, and this is the surprise question. We came up with this question with Alexa. What's your opinion? 30 seconds to wake up. Okay, here we go. What we want you to do, all of you, please name one PR function or one PR task which should be transferred into digital as soon as possible. And also one PR function or one PR task which again should remain 100% in its analogous format, no digital. Respected colleagues, I'd like to add, please listen attentively to other speakers and do not repeat others. Here, what we want to do when summarizing it, we want to put together the top 10 functions which we should digitalize to survive, and then again top 10 functions which we should not digitalize in a forced fashion to make sure PR stays the way we want it to be. Colleagues, we know that this is a tall task, but now I'd like to ask respected Daniel to name the feature.
All right, boy, putting me on the spot first. Okay, so, well, give a perspective. You know, I think if I had to choose something that's to be digitized, I think it's the, I think we need to do more testing of messages. And let me tell you what I mean by that. In the old days, we would be asked, you know, what do you, the CEO would say, what do you think we should do, right? And we would, the communications advisor, the sage would say, well, I've thought this through and here's what I think we should say, here's what we think we should do, right? I think the right answer today isn't, you know, based on that kind of gut instinct, right? It's, I don't know, you know, we don't know yet, but I have two ideas, idea one and idea two, and we're going to test both, right? And I think there needs to be more of that. Test A, test B, and then provide a recommendation that's rooted in research. So that's something where I think there needs to be a combination of digitization, you know, to help test messaging more in real time and adapt messaging in real time, but also the human interface to provide the analysis and the insight.
А что совершенно точно оцифровывать не нужно?
What should not be digitalized? Daniel, but very, very briefly. What should stay as is?
What should stay the same as, well, I think the strategic function, the you know, for example, activities such as engagement of employees, such as providing advice or reputation risk insights to a board of directors or to a C-suite executives. That's the sort of thing that I don't think machines will ever replace.
Оставим что-нибудь еще для ваших коллег.
Okay, leave something for your colleagues as well. Thank you, Daniel. That was great. Who else? Who else have we seen? Matt, you next. Sorry.
Gosh,
Matt De Leon.
Okay, in terms of what should be digitized, for me at the moment, just the back office stuff, the monitoring, the social listening. Let's digitize all of that to free our time up for the things which can't be digitized. We've just heard the strategic function, creativity as well. Sure, there'll be an argument that AI can be creative. I think proper creativity and also nuanced messaging needs to stay within the human function.
Отлично.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Richard, please.
Okay,
what would you say?
Yeah, I will say it's quite similar to Matt. I think the supportive function, but it's more like the editorial, the translation, because I think AI and machine learning will do great in those areas. Those remain the same as today. I would say those will be the ESG, CSR kind of activities because it's all human touch. You need to meet the person themselves so that you can arrange the brands or the corporate to help them.
Поняли. Принимаем.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Zero, right, the floor is yours. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think again, it's a combination. I will give you a very fast, short example. One job we made for a car company here in Brazil. They wanted to implement a new marketing and PR campaign. What we decided to do is to digitalize the search for sentiments of car buyers. So by using DMP, data management platform, we try to identify information on how to match information coming from people who made research on the internet about that brand and how the same people were interested in sustainability, in empathy, in social issues. So topics that are not very often connected to cars. So instead of performance, design, engines, we decided to make this kind of research in order to know the sentiment of those car buyers. And it was a very successful idea. And I think that with this example, I give my opinion about that. It's a combination, digitalization to capture information and building dialogues and messages that use that human touch. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Сира, вы феноменально стабильны.
Zero, you are so stable in your opinion. PR as a standalone function does not make any sense. And to continue living in this, we need to find a balance. We need to strike a balance. I'll, as soon as we complete the blitz, I'll come back to this idea. Thank you so much, Zero. Joe? Joe, are you with us?
I am.
The task is getting even more complicated. We're running out of things to name.
I know. And there's people on my roof, so you're going to hear banging, and that's fun. As far as digitalization, I think we can incorporate social media monitoring and social media reporting. There's so much information there. It's impossible for humans to really report on much of any of it outside of anecdotally. I think you need AI to help figure that out, to help figure out what's being said, what are the majority of the messages, not get distracted by smaller messages. So when it comes to social media monitoring and reporting, I think that has to go to AI to develop reports that make any sort of sense. As far as what can't be, relationship with reporters, media relations is not something I don't think we can ever turn over to AI. It's so important to what we do, especially as the media is shrinking. The value of those relationships is so much more important because I live in a city where we only have one major newspaper, and we're the second largest city in the United States. Every relationship I have with those reporters is that much more important, and we cannot turn that over to AI when they need something immediately. So I would say media relations is something we cannot digitize. As you hear banging upstairs, thanks so much.
Joe, спасибо огромное.
Joe, thank you so much. We couldn't hear anything, anybody banging on the roof, but we do want this not to bother you too much. Mr. Paul, it's getting more and more complicated, but at least like one idea.
I think the biggest challenge is for the guy who speaks the last. But anyway, I would like to talk about which is very much in my head is one of my client, the elevator company called Kone, they have a technology called talking elevators, where any kind of downtime anticipated is already intimated to the service engineer in the control room, and they monitor it from globally at different control rooms. Now, if that kind of technology, AI, can be applied in automobile, in other segments, it would be amazing. And talking elevator is something which my friends, on the panel can look out and, and they will get to know what I'm talking about. And as far as what should remain as it is, my friend Joe has already, spoken about. Media relations is critical for any PR agency to survive, because at the end of the day, you got to show, the result, because no matter what kind of scenario you are in, and proof of the pudding is in eating. So that is something which I would have no choice but to agree with Joe and say that's what even I would endorse very strongly. Thank you.
Отлично. Огромное спасибо.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's go on to the sunny Italy. Maurito, please, very briefly, 1 or 2 points, if you have some ideas to share.
Yeah, well, I would stay with Matt and Richards about the backup stuff, but to add something new, I would also say we might try to digitalize the measurement. I mean, how we set our KPIs and have someone absolutely rigid to test them and to check them. Joe before said we don't like the idea of being tested and being measured, so I think that would be very important to have digital-based or artificial intelligence-based measurements for our profession. On the other side, I would keep the advocacy activity, meaning by advocacy the ability to transform people, entities into our spokespersons. So there is no, I'm afraid, no button that available for us to turn them automatically. Lots of efforts have to be put into this transformation. So that's my choice. Think about it.
Отлично, огромное спасибо.
Great, thank you so much, Guntram. Guntram, if you're with us, please.
Очень коротко, Гунтрам. Ну, извините, Гунтрам.
Very briefly, please. I know it's hard. We can't hear you.
Hard but possible. What I would replace is all this what we have been calling time-consuming and boring paperwork. That should, as much as possible, be transferred into AI or digitalization or whatsoever. And what we should definitely keep is trust building and credibility building, be it media work or whatever other tools we're using. But this listening, credibility, trust, that is what we need to have under our control. Thank you.
Гунтрам, спасибо огромное.
Guntram, thank you so much. You are very precise in your wordings and you're very punctual. Thank you so much. Our colleagues from Russia, Andrei and Mikhail, we left you for last. I hope you don't mind. This is getting really challenging. We can't see you. We hope you're still with us. Mikhail, Andrei has disconnected. He had to run to work at his beneficiation plant. I guess I'm the last one from Russia to put the last word into the discussion. I guess it's really hard to add anything to what's already been said today. I'm going to continue this, support this idea with the back office. I'm going to develop that a little bit. On the crossroads of analytics, research, and artificial intelligence, I guess we could try, and systems like this exist already, systems that would enable you to trace and forecast changes in the trends and preferences of the audiences by explaining why something is happening and assuming what might happen further down the line. This is something that I think definitely can be digitalized. In terms of what we can't digitalize, we talked about this as well. I do have a comment on what Joe said in terms of talking to journalists and reporters. About 30% of the text in Bloomberg are written by robots, in fact. So I think that this trend will persist. I'm not excluding the possibility that in a while,
Судя по всему, извините,
it seems like we've lost Mikhail. Everybody is a bit tired. Even the internet must be tired. Our technical devices are failing. Thank you so much, colleagues. It's been a great blitz. It's been really constructive. I lost the sound and the picture from Mikhail. He was giving us this wonderful example about the 30% of text for Bloomberg being generated by robots. Oleg, in his very interesting presentation, which will be interesting both for the international audiences and our Russian audiences as well. Oleg wanted to share some information. He has some cases, the most advanced technological stories that Russian companies use. Oleg, the floor is yours. Hi, colleagues. Please put my presentation up on the screen. Okay, I hope that my presentation will not be too long, but
Коллеги, работает ли микрофон сейчас?
Is the microphone working now? Yes, it is. Apologies. Colleagues, hi again. I'm going to try to take 10 minutes of your time to talk you through a number of cases of how our Russian companies use different digital solutions. Let me start by saying that these have been accumulated not by principle that we've never seen these before. We know some of these solutions very well, but the way they're used is sometimes non-standard. Some were discoveries for me. I'm not going to give too much of an intro. Let's get to the point. First and foremost, in Russia, following the rest of the world, virtual voice assistants are booming. In our country today, we have around 60 million people using virtual voice assistants on a daily basis. For our colleagues from other countries, I want to say that in Russia, we have at least two very important equivalents to Apple's Siri. We have Yandex, our search engine. They have a voice assistant called Alisa, and a Russian company, Mail.ru Group, is heading the developments and exploitation of Marusia. Some Russian banks have also launched the development of their own voice assistants in 2-3 years, if we believe forecasts for this market and forecasts for the world searching from Google will account for 70 to 80%. The usage will be 2/3 of people that are currently using mobile devices will not just use a mobile voice search, but virtual assistants as well. So this is a very high prospect, promising niche. What voice assistants can do now, besides the very basic things like setting an alarm clock, calling a taxi, or food delivery, in fact, they are able, and I think not everybody knows about this, they know how to develop not just as a neural network through analyzing mass data that they receive by interacting with the users, but they're also able to acquire new skills, triggers that will activate additional abilities of the algorithm. Let me give you a few examples. Skyeng, a Russian company, an international leader in online learning, has integrated their skills for kids' toys into Marusia, teaching kids to learn new words. And Disney did the same thing. A certain trigger instruction leads to the fact that the voice assistant activates a mini quest for kids. Alisa from Yandex also has a very good ability to develop new capacities. For instance, 3 days ago, Mail.ru, the Russian Post integrated its own skill. It's called the Post. You can ask the voice assistant, Alisa, please activate the Post skill. The voice assistant will be able to find the nearest post office. It will be able to track your mail delivery. Out of PR cases, we have to say that I haven't found any examples, but it's a huge niche, and perhaps not all of our colleagues quite realize how much resource is required in order to integrate the skills into the voice assistant. If we think about various applications, let's think about the absolute abstracts holding Unilever. They have their own program moving towards sustainability, ESG goals, and they could integrate various skills into the voice assistant in terms of how to work with waste plastics. And instead of a standard answer from Wikipedia, the voice assistant would be able to offer a scenario which would be developed together with the Unilever Group, or, for instance, a retailer. For instance, X5 retail group could integrate their own answer in response to the question of how to help those that are in need of food, for instance. And the skill of the voice assistant would be automatically tied to a specific project of the company that does not pursue any marketing goals. It would only pursue sustainability goals, building trust, and building cohesive ties between the brand and its audiences. I didn't mention the cost. The cost for developing and integrating a new skill, looking at Marussia, is about $30,000 to $50,000, which is not a lot of money. It's not a phenomenal budget for a system that in a number of years will be the dominant one in our communications. If we talk about surveys, our colleagues mentioned that it's important to digitally transform our sociology. The survey function is well integrated into VKontakte, the Russian Facebook, and into Yandex ads. Through a number of clicks and a very basic technical request, we can survey the audience that we need. We can do it in real time. The example in this slide, we'll be sharing the presentation with you, shows calculations for an audience covering all of the population of the Russian Federation. This is 1,600 people. This is sociologically representative. The cost of a survey of this kind is $218. 12,000 rubles at the current currency exchange rate. This is a microscopic amount. The way our colleagues are using this now, like the PR department of Yandex, is testing its communication, taking zero measurements at the beginning, and then at the end, through this survey technique, they can check whether the messages reach the target audience or not. If we talk about examples of successful integration of PR communications into traditional marketing tools, such as client applications, and we often hear that communication with the client, particularly communication that has to do with sales, is a sanctuary, and there's no place for PR in it. So please note the experience of our Yandex colleagues and their app, their super app, Yandex Go. Those that use the super app will have seen that they have stories which are very similar to what we have in Facebook or Instagram. 100% of these stories go through acceptance by the PR service. They're approved, and each fifth story approximately is dedicated to addressing PR tasks. So the company is not just informing their audiences on their positioning, but it is able to integrate very skillfully. Going back for a second to the previous slide, Yandex told me, and I'm telling you, how they addressed the challenge that we just talked about during our blitz, that we need to test messages. They have this service called, it's a crowdfunding resource with Yandex, with about 200,000 people registered with the service. And these 200,000 people on a daily mode, mostly from digital companies, receive certain tasks to perform them online. And our colleagues from Yandex PR suddenly realized that they can test their hypothesis. Looking at a huge audience, they are able to upload 3 communication projects on a single theme. They can set targeting for a survey like students, and 3 hours later, 1.5 of which is the technical assignment, they're able to get the answer, which of the options of the message best suits the audience that they are interested in targeting. And this way, PR experts no longer have questions from their bosses. Why did you come up with this message, not another one, not just because we are the experts, but because we're able to test everything over the course of the last 3 hours. If we talk about B2B communication, which is even more complex, taking into account digital transformations, X5 Retail Group, a leading Russian retailer, which manages a huge pool of 15,000 stores, might also be interested. In October 2020, a few months ago, the company launched its own digital platform called X5 Dialogue. This digital platform is aimed at an interaction with thousands and thousands of legal entities, vendors, suppliers of groceries to X5 Retail Group stores. At the initial stage, the platform was integrated with basic functions, digital logistics, digital marketing, analysis of buyer behaviors, demand analysis. At stage 2, in 2021, PRX5 will integrate a set of communication functions into the system. This way, they will be able to address an issue that they were unable to address over a very long period of time. How to directly, without any communication intermediaries, to target an audience that is critically important for the success of retail commercial suppliers. Out of industrial companies, I would like to show you a few slides on Gazpromneft. Gazpromneft, and I'm mentioning this for our international colleagues first and foremost, is a Russian leader in digital technologies and artificial intelligence solutions. They work on the B2B and the mass markets, and they have their own network of gas stations. In December 2017, they started working seriously with the virtual reality. They created a film which is called The Path of Oil, and the oil journey, and they would show it in gas stations as a VR project across a number of cities for retail clients. This was using VR. It wasn't a new way to use virtual reality, but it was aimed at addressing tasks that have to do with the image of the company, the reputation of the company, and supporting their reputation as a high-quality petrol manufacturers. Gazpromneft continued with the experiments throughout the pandemic period with visualizing various facilities. Because the bulk of the deposits are located far away from Moscow for obvious reasons, so they have no other options except tours or press tours to showcase their facilities. Obviously, they started to create virtual tours. A number of facilities have fully been digitalized at this point, and you can visit them in real-time mode. And this is not a video. This is full immersive app experience that enables you to examine each of these facilities. The facilities that were selected, like oil production facilities, you can have a look, administrative buildings, construction buildings, the drilling sites, technological process lines, all of this can be visited in real-time mode. Another interesting example from Gazpromneft has to do with the fact that the company needs to both tell the story about the experiment with artificial intelligence and exploration of the Arctic as the most remote and hard-to-reach region where oil is produced. One of the cases which is interesting in our context, how to create a small app, a game app, to show how people can compete with artificial intelligence and managing Arctic logistics. All the key messages of the company are integrated into one elegant solution. And I tried to have a go at this game, and I lost to artificial intelligence. I'm coming to the end of my presentation.
Работает почти 80 тысяч человек, а у нас немало компаний схожего масштаба и даже больше.
We have a lot of companies of similar scale. The goal of interacting with employees in regions is important because it's impossible to reach out to everyone. So launching the platform a year ago let the company today have more than 1.3 million visits to the digital version of the platform. They use a messenger similar to Telegram, and now people have their own channels. This is how they establish the exchange of internal expertise. I don't think there are many cases like that in Russia. I don't think there is much experience like this. So finally, I'd like to show one of the many relevant stories. This is the case of MTS, one of the leading mobile telephoning operators. Well, they have come up with their own media product, media content. This is not something new, but we know that this company is looking at using PR to reach result. Yes, this is an extremity, but what's interesting in their experience is that these colleagues of ours, they started making texts oriented at situational requests. Looking at the way people interact with search systems, how to choose a particular smartphone, how to make the mobile network work. And so they put together impressive audience network. They can share their data. We can study this data, multi-million audience, and they put this audience together in a very limited time. But that's not the most important thing. On the second stage, they added the sell button to their content and integrated it with the internet store of MTS. And this is how they came up with selling content, but they still have the analogous influence. I believe that there can be so many cases I can talk about, but I forgot to mention one particular one, and I did that on purpose. What I didn't talk in my presentation about, because I can't really show a slide, this is the story from X5 retail group. They experiment with big data and AI. They're searching for a solution which is going to teach neural network, in other words, AI, for predictive analysis of the reverberation of communication crisis. In other words, they learn how to foresee the negative effect of any kind of a situation, be that a scandal in a particular supermarket or anything like this, any crisis. And with due diligence, this case is going to get shape and be successful, because there are so many incidents, there are enough incidents in retail to provide enough data for machine learning. And as we know, in 2015 or 16, the New York Times team actually managed to build a similar predictive analysis model, which enabled journalists to answer the question, what informational cause is going to create wow effect among readership? Of course, there is some manipulation in that, because reporters are oriented at guaranteed sensational materials, but it really increased the efficiency of New York Times, and it is still one of the top media of this. I'm sorry if I exceeded the time allocated for my... Yes, thank you. You did exceed the time allocated for you, but we will probably forgive you because it was a very informative talk. Thank you, Oleg. Thank you so much, colleagues, respected editors. Okay, I'd like to see our colleagues again, so that I could say goodbye to everybody. I'd like to see everybody, because we only see each other. Here we go at the moment. Okay, now I see the chat. I see the Zoom. Thank you. I'd like to say something important, to thank the people who made this event possible. This is our team which made this event possible. worked on that together. Our technicians, our guardian angel, Yulia Sabitova, my co-producer, Alexander Revsky, our press secretary, Ekaterina Vronskaya, our director, Ilya Smirnov. Vladimir Stupnikov supported us greatly, the president of iMARS communication group, and thank you to co-presenter Oleg Politaev, who also was our SMM manager because he addressed questions at YouTube. Dear guests, thank you for your patience. I hope that this was an interesting conversation. I hope you were interested in it as well. I hope this is not the last time that we get together, and I will be very happy. We will be very happy to see everybody in 2021. Let's raise our hands and wave our hands at each other. Wish everybody good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you, colleagues. See you. Thank you, everybody. And Happy New Year.
Thank you, and same to everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you so much, dear colleagues. Thank you.